In the last video, we talked about the basic functionality of the printf function and how it works and how we handle it. And today we will dive a little more and maybe you have been thinking that printf isn't useful at all, but today you will see an actual application of it which has helped me very much, and of course it's going to be very useful to you. So let's begin. So suppose you want to print each character within a fixed number of spaces. So if I bring up my notepad, so suppose you want to print any character. Suppose you want to print one, and you want to print it in a fixed number of spaces. You want to print it in like maybe 10 spaces. So after printing one, there will be 9 spaces. So similarly, you want to print similarly if you print 477, this will also be printed into with 10 spaces. So the total numbers are 1 2 3 4 5 6, and so there will be 4 empty spaces next to it. So this is what we call a field width concept. uh, so let's see how we can see it in action. So let's print a simple text, a simple integer. But now what we will do, we will print it in a fixed width. So if you don't pass it a width, for example, if we print a normal it in our normal way, like by using percentage d alone, and simply call num here. In that case, if I run my program, you see this doesn't have a fixed width. It is displaying number 23, but it uh, doesn't have a fixed amount of spaces it wants to print. So now the question is how we can fix it in a certain row. Like we want to fix the number of spaces in which the whole each character or each number will be printed. So to fix that, we will use the concept of field width. So now we are gonna pass it the field width. So let's see what happens now. So I'm gonna to pass the total spaces required to print that character. You have to pass the number of total spaces after the percentage sign. So after percentage, if I write 20, 10, and now if I run my program, so as you can see, my output is right justified. So it is getting printed in total of 10 spaces. So let's count the spaces. So this is our first space, this is our second, this is our third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, and eighth. So we got 8 spaces, and in the ninth and tenth space, our these characters are displaying, numbers are displaying. So this is getting printed in a total of 10 spaces. So now, before we begin, I wanna show you one more thing, but for now, let's keep on going. So now the output is, as you can see, right justified. So it is getting aligned to the right. So what if you want to align it to the left? What if you want to print spaces after it? So this is basically called the right alignment, in which our output is towards the right. So it is also called the right justified output. But suppose you want to print it to the left, right? And now what we can do, uh, instead of writing just 10, we will write -10. Negative indicates that we are justifying it towards the left. So let's run our program now. As you can see, you see is 23, but I know there are, as you can see, our program is telling us there are 8 spaces after 23. It works the same way. So as you can see, there are 8 spaces after it. We can see our cursor here, but after the difference is that now it is left justified. So this is also one advantage of it. And let's now let's see a real application of it. Let's try printing two numbers in the we are going to print these numbers in the middle of the screen. So we are required to print two numbers in the middle of the screen. So first I will add slash g, which means insert a tab, and then I will print first I'm gonna print num1. So for now I'm using the default println function or just num, and then I'm gonna print out num2. Similarly, first I will insert some empty spaces using the slash g keyword, and then I will print my num2. So let's run our program now. As you can see, it is printing our text, right? It is adding some empty spaces because we are using slash g. So slash g is an escape sequence used to add empty spaces. So whenever you write slash g, it means that it will add a tab, which is a collection of five spaces. It will add a tab into our output, into our string, and then it will print this num. And now everything looks fine. Our number are getting aligned pretty fine. And suppose this number had four characters, like four digits. What now? So as you can see, our output got a little messy. It isn't perfectly aligned like we wanted. For example, we want it to look like this. First 23. Then we want it to have it to be like this 7744. This is what he wants. So we can achieve this with printf. So print lnu, there's no way to achieve this. And similarly, you the can't justify it to the left if you want it. So now let's see how we can work with printf. So to do this in printf, first you are gonna print the num1 with percentage %d. Then you are gonna insert a new line. For new line, for now I'm gonna use the println function, and I'm gonna give it no parameters since I need a new line only. Then again I'm gonna print num2, and I'm gonna print it with 10 spaces again. So number of spaces must be fixed for it to be perfectly aligned. So now you can see we got what you wanted. We got perfect alignment. So this matters a lot, especially when you want to beautify your output. I wanna show you one more thing, and this let's suppose we have a string uh, name which takes the name, and we are passing Jake for now, and suppose we have a variable called age, and we are passing 12 in it. So now I want to display it in a table form. So to display it in a table form, first I will have to display the name. So first I wanna justify it to the left, to the right of the screen. So first I want to print name. So first I will give a label or heading, you can say, of name. Then I will insert an empty space right here, right? Then after space I will print uh, a string, and to print that string what I want to do is I want to give it a total weight of 10 characters. So 10 spaces, or let's give it 20. So now it will display a string. S means string. So, and similarly I want to justify the name. So this could also work, but uh, let's justify the name first. So so I wanna print the name in the parentheses 15 spaces, which is the heading. So here our name is the heading that we want. So first I have to pass it the argument. Then after the name argument, I'm gonna insert an empty space, and then I'm gonna pass it the variable. So here I don't have to pass a variable. I can pass a simple string since percentage is main string. So I'm gonna pass name. So this is a direct string. You can pass a string variable as well. After that, I want to print. I want to print the name of the user in uh, let's say 20 spaces. So 20 spaces will be required, and I'm gonna have to add the percentage symbol here, and here I want you to pass anything. Here I have to pass the string. So now I have to pass the string variable, which is the name. So let's run our program, see what we get. So right, it looks all set. So as you can see, it is printing the name, and before name it is printing the required empty spaces, and also before this it is printing 16 spaces since this name has a length of 4. But I want to justify it towards the left of the screen. So let's see what happens now. So now as you can see, it will look a lot more beautiful. So as you can see, we got the name in the which is right in the middle of screen, and we are also printing some empty space like let's add jquad. Let's do that. So let's make it a little more lengthy. And as you can see, this is my right justified string, which is a simple name, and then I have a quotation mark, and then I am printing this name, which is through this line, and this is getting printed in 20 spaces. And also, you have noticed one thing, that printf, similar to print function, it doesn't insert a new line. So after printing it, it will print the next statement on the same line. So if you want to insert a new line, suppose after printing this, you want to insert a new line. After printing this name and colon, you want to insert a new line. What you have to do is you can either use println function after it, but the more easy way is to simply use slash n. So uh, whenever slash n comes, a new line will be printed. So let's see what happens now. So as you can see, it is printing name first, then it is printing the next print statement. So you can insert a new line anywhere. For example, you can even insert new line before printing this. So as you can see, now we got a new extra line first, then we got our next text. Similarly, you can insert multiple new lines by using slash n. So now it will insert multiple new lines, as you can see, and you can even add a line here. So let's add multiple lines here as well. So as you can see, now we got a weird output. And so also let's print the age of the user. So we will use the same number of spaces since we want to perfectly align them. And this time let's replace this with age since I need the heading to be the of age. And here I have to pass the age variable, and remember, since age is an integer, I have to replace s with d now. Also, I have to insert a new line. So after printing the name, I want to insert a new line like this. So now let's see. So we got our name and we got our age. So as you can see, this is right aligned. So my this output is right aligned, and this one is left aligned. So you have to remember this difference. And also let's print the salary. So let's make a new variable called salary. Or let's not make a variable, let's pass it directly, since we already now we can pass directly instead of creating variables. So similarly, I'm gonna insert a new line after printing the age number, I mean variable, I mean, and here I will write salary, and here I will pass a direct integer. I will pass a big number, like let's pass this. So now as you can see, our output is perfectly aligned. So this was how you can align. You can experiment a lot with this. There's one more last thing I want to show you. Uh, so suppose we have a decimal value. Let's call it num and let's pass it 4.58874, something like this, right? So as you know, to print this with printf, you simply have to pass the percentage f, and then you have to pass the argument. So now this value will get printed. So as you can see, the whole float is getting printed here. So suppose you want to fix the number of values after a decimal point. So suppose after a decimal point you want to print only two values. So this is called precision. So you want your precision to be up to two decimal points. So to do that, simply add the point one and then add 2. So now it will print value after only up to two decimal places. So let's run our now. So as you can see, it rounded up and now it is printing up to only two decimal places. So it will also auto round up since our third character was greater than 5. And so one more thing, you can add spaces here as well. Simply add like 15 here. So now it will add 15 spaces. So now you can do this. So that's it for today's video. Thank you for watching.